Welcome to Truest Blood, the official True Blood podcast.
I'm Kristin Bauer.
And I'm Deborah Ann Wool.
And you've been invited in.
I wanna do bad things with you. On Truest Blood.
Welcome back to Truest Blood, where we sink our fangs into the series bite by bite.
It is finale week, and I can't believe we made it here, Kristin.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Tear tracker.
This one is going to be too high to count.
This is going to be too high to count. And we just really want to honor each and every person who contributed to the making of True Blood. We would happily speak to each and every one of them for hours on end.
Oh my God.
But unfortunately, that just isn't feasible. So we thought we'd reach out and give as many folks a chance to share their experience as possible. And we will share that with you soon.
Yes, it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
However, the show would not be what it was without the groundbreaking work of Anna Paquin.
Yeah.
She was our leader. She was an inspiration. She was our friend. And her consistently exceptional work was just a beacon through every single season of that show. So while we didn't get a chance to speak with her, we do want to share just how deeply she impacted the show as well as all of our lives.
It is often said that the tone is set from the top. And as much as Alan Ball and later Bucky are responsible for that, Anna was number one on the call sheet.
Yeah.
She worked at least 14 hours almost every single day for 7 years.
Ridiculous.
It was so insane. And she deserves as much of that credit for the success of True Blood and its significant influence on all of our lives.
Okay, so first a little background on the woman who brought Sookie Stackhouse to life. So Anna Paquin was born in Winnipeg, Canada, but raised in New Zealand. Now, she made her acting debut there in the 1993 film The Piano. She has said that there was a casting call in the local paper, and she and her sister went to audition, and her only previous experience at this point was playing a skunk in the school play. But she was eventually chosen by the writer and director Jane Campion out of 5,000 candidates.
Oh my gosh. And the Paquin family expected this film to be a one-off, just a small, fun experience. And Anna would return to life as usual after it ended.
It was a tiny indie film, right?
Right. However, it went on to receive 8 Oscar nominations, including a Best Supporting nod for Anna, which she won.
Ridiculous. Amazing. Other notable roles as a child actor include Fly Away Home, Jane Eyre, Amistad, Almost Famous.
My gosh.
Then as an adult, she went on to play Rogue in the X-Men franchise, huge. She had standout leading roles in Trick or Treat, The Squid and the Whale, and many others.
In keeping with her trend of starting at the top, her first job in a series television was True Blood.
That's it.
It's crazy. She had done 2 TV movies previously, Member of the Wedding and HBO's Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. But the Alan Ball-led fantasy series for HBO would be her first foray into serialized television.
Amazing.
And again, she's nominated for many Best Actress awards, winning the Golden Globe for season 1.
Yeah. And after that, just more success in TV and film were inevitable. She did The Courageous Heart of Irene Sendler, Roots, a season of The Affair, Flack, Friend of the Family, Margaret, The Good Dinosaur, The Irishman, which she had like 6 words or something and 10 minutes of screen time and still dominated that movie and that role. American Underdog, A Bit of Light. I mean, it's merely the tip of the iceberg in her standout career.
Yeah, and her, just every day on the set, what we saw, her professionalism.
Yes.
She never complained.
I know. And this was a show where it would have been very easy to complain.
I mean, this is probably a bit too much behind the scenes. But
it's the final episode here.
Right?
On the
they
podcast,
can't fire
Kristin.
us. So
let it all out.
I'll just say it. But I could give 1,000 examples. But being pregnant with twins, night shooting, and having sickness
Mhm.
and go in the porta potty. You know how
Mm.
brutal that is? And then coming back out to film. Do you know how much I would have been complaining?
No, I mean, never a complaint. And then I know for me, even like in the very early days, just starting, because I remember the first major scene I had with her is when Sookie took me to go see my real parents, right?
Okay. Oh,
And she
right.
had a scene in the car where she had to like burst into tears. And I
Uh,
remember watching her do this. And every single time, in the exact same moment, huge droplets of water just sprung from her eyes as
uh,
if by will, right? Sheer
yeah.
will. And I'm an emotionally available person. I can
hmm
cry in a scene, but I had never seen this kind of, what's the word? I don't want to say control necessarily, but
hmm
maybe like a real,
Spontaneity. Yeah.
yeah, a real facility with her
Right.
expression and her feeling. And it was just impressive every single time and time
hmm
again. And I think some of it is that she was really fearless. She didn't seem
hmm
to have any, at least outwardly, I'm sure internally
hmm
we all have our insecurities, but
Yeah.
I never sensed apology in her. I
Right.
never sensed fear in her. She knew
Right.
who she was and what she wanted,
hmm
and she asked for it, and not in a way that ever put anyone else down, but she was so
hmm
clear in who she was. And I was just very impressed to see that, and it made a big impression on me.
Yeah. And in that light of never being sort of the other type of number one on the call sheet that I've
Mm.
experienced, right? Where there's a constant floating of power in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
She was so inclusive of the entire crew.
Yeah.
Like their wedding
Yeah.
was the entire cast and crew of True Blood. I was in South Africa. I was so bummed I missed it.
Yeah, same. I wasn't able to make it either.
But we were at their house for
Mhm.
parties
Mhm.
constantly and just so much inclusion. And when Heidi, her stunt person, got injured out there at Greer, it was when I had turned Tara,
Mm.
and Tara Rutina throws Heidi
Mm.
across, and they just put a rope on Heidi and yanked her. There
Mm.
was no like science to it. It was like, we're just going to literally throw this human being. And they threw her really far and the ground was frozen. It was so cold.
Oof.
And she broke her collarbone. And
Oof.
Anna just stayed with her the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a crew member get cancer
Yeah.
and Anna was with her
Yeah.
offset, and printed buttons
Yeah.
that we all wore and sent her
Yeah.
cards. I mean, she was like the mama of the
Yeah,
set.
I think so. I found this great interview that she did with The Guardian, and it was
Mm,
actually for Flack, so it was for many years later, but it did such a good job of asking her about herself and her, experience in the business. And I just wanted to read this one quote of
yeah.
hers about being a woman in Hollywood and how difficult that can be, and therefore, I think why she works so hard to make it different for everyone else.
Right.
But she said, one has to work extra hard as a woman in a very male-dominated industry. As an actress walking onto a film set, you are guilty until proven innocent. They assume you're going to be a pain in the arse, high maintenance, and difficult. And you usually spend the first couple of weeks having to work hard to prove that you're not going to be a problem because you're a woman.
Right.
And I think we're all just collectively done with that.
Yeah.
That sounds so like her.
Amen. I
The
know.
other thing too is this irreverence and this sort of sense of
hmm
humor that she had. That even if that's the way it's always been done, that's not good enough. And
Right.
I can hear her voice in
Yes.
that quote. Yeah,
Yeah. We saw it in action.
yeah,
And she and Steven,
yeah.
they had kids throughout the show. He had two kids
Hmm.
prior. They have the dogs that were on the
Hmm.
set. They were their own traveling circus
Yeah,
and working 14 hours a day, both of them. And he's
absolutely.
directing.
He's directing. And then obviously, Steven's children and his stepchildren are on the show in certain
Yes.
capacities. And so
Yes,
it became a whole family affair. Yeah.
it did. And you found this, it's so interesting because was she and Steven executive produced Flack?
Yes.
Right. And you found this quote where she said, "It's not a name only credit. I'm a huge control freak. I'm involved in every single aspect of every single decision."
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting because, I think control freak, she's being self-deprecating, which is
Yeah.
sweet. But watching her on the show, she understood everyone's job.
Yeah.
She understood what they needed to get it done and wanted to help them do it easier,
Yeah.
right? Make sure they had what they needed. And to me, that is a clear sign of someone who should be a producer.
Yes.
Someone who is a supportive control freak,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah.
And so I'm not one bit surprised that she moved into that capacity.
It is interesting because on a set, there's often this thing with, because one of the rules, the golden rules, is camera doesn't wait.
Yes.
But almost every other show I've ever been on, camera waits. And that will be because, number one, on the call sheet, can kind of take their time to get
Yeah.
the last of their costume on or have a smoke or whatever.
Yeah.
And the rest of the other actors, if there's a power struggle, which there often is, it's like, well, number two is not going to go to the set until number one is in the set.
Yeah.
Right. And this can be quite a delay throughout the day.
Yeesh.
That never happened. I mean, the
Not
second
once.
camera was ready, she was there first. And
Yeah.
it set the tone for all of us
Yeah.
to respect that golden rule that needs to happen.
Well, and it's that weird thing too, where, like whenever I've done a play, I've had people come up to me afterward who are not in this business. And they're always like, how do you learn all those lines? And you're always like,
Right.
ha, ha, ha,
Yeah, yeah.
That's the easiest part of this job. But so I say that as a caveat to this in terms of like Anna showing up prepared, right? Like it's a
Right.
little bit like, duh, don't all actors know all their lines? But unfortunately,
Yeah.
on a film set, you will have a lot of actors that are still holding their sides
Yeah.
when they show up and
Yeah.
in camera, they'll look at them and put them in their back pocket and kind of,
Yeah.
that was never the case with Anna. She knew it
Oh.
forwards and backwards. She knew the choices that she wanted to make with her character.
Right.
Again, as I said, she knew where the emotional hits were and
Yeah.
how to hit them.
Yeah.
I just always so, again, impressed. That's the word that continually comes
Yeah.
back to me.
I don't know how she did that because right, how do you film all day?
I know.
And
When are
then
you
know
prepping?
when are you prepping?
I don't know.
And she would have forced calls probably
I know,
every
all
single
the time.
day.
She's
So-
also then parenting when she gets home, showering and like taking care of your life.
and working out
and
because she was
working out
in
and-
tiny little outfits the
I know.
entire thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I could not do it.
It was such a difficult job. And I found this other quote I want to read from that same interview where she's talking about her role as a PR rep in Flack. However, this rings so true to me about just acting in general. So she said, when you have a job that involves being everything to everybody at all times, being a chameleon, what does that do to your sense of your real self? How do you maintain a grasp on reality when your job is constantly playing with reality? I mean,
that's so well
that
put.
could go in a book. I feel like that
Yeah.
encapsulates this challenge that you have as an
Yeah.
actor,
Yeah.
maintaining life and work. And
Yeah.
I think again, she was a prime example, at least externally, of
Mhm.
how to balance that, how to
Mhm.
be a good partner, a good parent, a good friend, a good actress, and a good coworker. It's
Yeah.
difficult because this job can very easily become everything.
Yeah.
And I think that can be dangerous. I speak from experience.
Yeah. And this job had to be everything
Yeah.
for her, time-wise at least.
Yeah.
But somehow she still had that huge, gorgeous laugh.
That big laugh. She was always like present and never
Yes.
felt like her mind was somewhere else.
Right.
She was ready to go and excited to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that laugh.
Yeah.
God,
And her sense of humor.
Her
you
sense
know?
of humor. That was really the beginning of bonding for me
Yeah,
with her
yeah.
because it was that first night And I've told the story, so I won't tell it again. But, I was very tired and very jet
Yeah.
lagged, and we were doing this. We had no idea how to make a vampire fly, and it was just absolutely ridiculous. And there was this piece of wood and Alex and I were supposed to balance on. And Anna, I'm really trying to figure out what they're telling me. And I hear that laugh.
Yeah.
And I look over, I don't know her yet. And she goes, "You should see your face."
I mean, you had to have a sense of humor on this show. I don't see it working without that.
Right.
Well, in conclusion,
Yeah.
we love you, Anna.
We love you.
This show and really this entire industry has just been deeply improved by your contributions.
Yes.
We want to thank you for all that you did and continue to do that make art that lasts and an industry that welcomes all voices.
Yeah. And before I just sob, just thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
So now let's have our last quick bite, which is also going to make me cry that it's our last
Yeah.
quick bite. Appropriately, it's time for 1 month in the life of Sookie Stackhouse.
All right. So season 7 takes place over 8 days and nights
Whoa.
in May of 2011. So this is really 1 week in the life of Sookie Stackhouse.
That was a week, man.
It was just a hell of a week. So we actually get a date listed within this season. We know that the last entry in the diary that they find in St. Alice is May 2nd, which happened to have been a Monday in 2011. And it appears from the decomposition of the bodies and the food and stuff that they find that it's only a few days that, this last diary entry is only really a few days before our, Sookie squad shows up in St. Alice. So I went ahead and made an educated guess. Let's say that the church that they go to on day 1 of this, season is indeed a Sunday service.
Right.
That would actually make it May 8th. It would be the Sunday after the 2nd, which was Mother's Day in 2011, which is sort of interesting. I'm sure the writers did not intend this. This is entirely me in hindsight putting this on there. But there's some sort of gravitas because that was the night that Tara and Letty Mae reunite before the H-Vamp attack. So there's something kind of beautiful and sad about that as I look back on it.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So let's dig in. Let's do this day by day. We'll see what probably the worst week of Sookie's life ever, despite 6 years of zaniness or 6 seasons of zaniness.
Yeah.
Let's see how this last final week goes for her.
Okay. So on day 1, H-Vamps attack the party at Bellfloor's and Tara is killed. Sookie hears that everyone blames her.
Right. So then day 2, they investigate and go to St. Alice and they discover the fate that awaits Bontemps. But that night, she sneaks out to get kidnapped as a spy to find the hostages. And in the scuffle, Alcide is killed. So just the next day.
Wow.
But luckily, Holly is recovered.
Day 3, Sookie reverses Holly's glamour and plans a rescue mission to release the hostages. There's a big showdown at Fantasia, and she saves everyone's lives.
I know. But again, 2 days. We're barely in here. Day 4, and this is my favorite one. Sookie sleeps the day away. Finally. I feel like we need one of those every single season because that is always my main question is when does Sookie sleep?
Yes. Once a week.
Once a week, apparently, she sleeps for 24 hours.
Yeah.
She's like a bear. She hibernates. So then that night after she sleeps the day away is the celebration of life party that is thrown at her house where they toast to Tara and Alcide. And again, she gets a well-deserved rest where she falls asleep holding his jacket.
Okay, well, day 5 only, she finds out Bill has Hep V and that she gave it to him.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
it's
my
just
gosh.
one hit, one punch after another here.
Yeah.
Day 6, Sookie spends the entire day trying to get help for Bill. She asks Dr. Ludwig, who can't help. She asks Niall, who can't help.
Mm-hmm.
She finally returns to Bill, and they make love for what we now know was the last time.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, I could comment on so many things, but I'm just going to go to day 7.
Okay.
She sees Eric is cured and goes to Fantasia to find out how. She escapes from Mr. Gus and they sneak Bill in to feed from Sarah, but then he refuses.
Come on, Bill.
Come on, Bill. She slaps him. But later.
They just had sex last night.
Right. Oh, right. Thank you for yeah. Less than 24 hours ago. But later, he explains why he wants to die and that he wants her help to do it by giving up her light.
Whoa. So big decisions ahead of Sookie here as we move into day 8, the last day of this horrible, no good, very bad week.
Except for the sex. Yeah.
Except for the sex. They had one really nice night.
Yeah.
Sookie goes to Jessica and Hoyt's wedding, which they met about 3 days ago, I think. Less than that, maybe. Maybe 2 days ago, I think. They have a wedding. And as, Sookie's grappling with this idea of helping Bill end his life, she does decide to keep her light, go her, and thus ends what I think is fair to say the worst week of her life while she sits in a grave surrounded by the goo of her first real love in tears.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it always blows my mind. These just blow my mind up. Because she earns and receives this very well-deserved 4-year break.
Yes, I'm quite happy to say nothing bad ever happened to Sookie in that 4-year time jump. She's earned that.
Right? It was smooth sailing.
Yes.
We assume. And hopefully she finally gets the more peaceful family life she always wanted because we see her surrounded by family and all of her friends that have survived.
Yeah.
And life is continuing.
Life is good. So I wanted to wrap this up with some of our Stackhouse stats that we do sometimes that kind of pull together the entirety of the season and where we are right now. So we'll start with, I don't know exactly how long they've been dating. They're not super clear, but Alcide is likely her longest active romantic relationship during the series at around 5 to 6 months. So there's something really, really beautiful in that.
And her longest love, her true love, is probably Tara.
Yeah, I think
and probably the hardest loss for her since Gran in season 1. However, it's followed up just 1 week later with Bill.
I know. It's a lot of loss for her over this series. So as far as I can tell, we've been tracking deaths at Sookie's hands / witnessed by Sookie. As far as I can tell, the only death directly at her hands this season is Bill, unless she stakes somebody at Fantasia that I'm missing. It's possible.
Off camera. She might have.
Off camera, potentially. But I think that's the only one that we really witness. But conversely, she also saves some lives, right, Kristin?
Yeah, this season she saved the lives of Arlene, Holly, Nicole, and Jane, all directly.
Yes.
She also talked Jessica out of her eating disorder.
Very, very important, yes.
She would have saved Bill if he was willing.
I know. She got, they were there. It would have happened.
Yeah. And indirectly with her plan, she saved all the rest of Bon Tom that would have been H Vamp food. So she saved the whole town.
The whole town. I mean, to me, that feels like a fitting finale for Sookie, right? That she's progressed from saving just herself or the people she loves to really saving the whole community.
Yeah.
So here's the big final number that I'm very excited to share with you all. So for the residents of Bon Tom, who experienced the year when Sookie was in Fairyland, the entire series takes place in just under 2 years' time.
Wow.
But for Sookie's timeline, it was 10 months ago that Bill walked into Merlotte's and changed her life forever. That's it.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And then for us, it was 15 years ago that changed our lives.
Yeah. I mean, we started 2007, 2008 with this show. And
I think I came on, in 2008. I'm so glad that she talked you out of your eating disorder so we could do this podcast. But
So
you
Jessica,
survived.
Jessica could live and do the podcast.
Oh my gosh, Deb, thanks for doing this. That is always so much fun. And really, this could happen in this way from the writers
Yeah.
because there wasn't streaming.
There wasn't streaming. And I think, a show like True Blood, it isn't about the mundane moments, right? It's about
Right.
the adventurous, sexy,
Yeah.
exciting moments. And
Yeah.
if that means you pack them all into a single week, I'm in favor of it. I think
Totally.
it's just a blast. And there's something really fun about the idea that Sookie had a really intense 10 months. Okay, so I think we had this idea, and I'm so excited that we did this. It might be my favorite part of this podcast because we got to hear from so many of our friends. We reached out to any and all of the cast and crew that we could find. We heard back from a few of them. Probably we had some old emails that didn't ever get to anybody. Probably no one checks their Instagram DMs. And also people are busy with their fabulous lives. So we are just enormously grateful that so many people responded and took the time to send us a little story from their time on the show. I think it just speaks volumes to how much people enjoyed their experience on the show.
Yeah, we sent out a variety of prompts that they could choose from. But mostly we just wanted to hear their voices and have them introduce themselves to you and just share with us whatever they wanted to about what being on the show meant to them. So we heard from some actors, writers, directors, some crew members, and here they are presented to you in their own voices. So enjoy.
Hey, I'm Amelia Rose Blair, and I played Willa Burrell. My favorite moment from True Blood was definitely getting turned into a vampire by Eric Northman. I remember that we got to film that scene over the course of 2 days in 2 separate locations. Everything that we did above ground was in Griffith Park. Over the course of a night shoot, they had dug a giant grave that we walked up to and jumped inside of, and then everything where I was newly turned, we also did on that same night. But everything that we did inside of the grave was filmed back at the sound stages, and they had built this half grave that was lifted up on this huge platform, and because of where my eye line had to be and where the cameras were, I had to do the entire scene looking at a big tennis ball instead of Alex, and they had rigged me up to all of these blood tubes. So after I got bit, there was this guy who was just right off camera who started pumping this blood tube, and then I could feel the blood starting to pool up and down my nightgown, and I remember looking down at the blood and thinking that I was actually bleeding out and dying. So my body just went into shock. I started to black out, but it worked with the scene and we got it in only one take. I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to be a part of the show. I had been a fan of True Blood since season 1, so getting to be a vampire and getting to work with all of these actors that I had admired and be on those sets was such a dream come true, and I am so grateful that I got to be a part of it.
Hi everyone, I'm Bailey Noble, and I played Adeline Braylon Charlene Danica Belfleur on True Blood. When I auditioned for the show, I remember I was in this phase as an artist where I was just kind of saying F it and doing bolder things in my auditions. And I remember screaming the F-bomb at the top of my lungs in a very small office. And that was enough to get me a call back. And then I booked it. And I booked it along with 3 other wonderful actresses who we all knew that we were going to be in one episode together, but then we had to re-audition sort of against each other, which was awkward, to see who would make it. And that was a very long and grueling process. And at the end of it, they decided to keep me on board. I was beside myself when I learned that I got to stay on for yet another season and become a series regular. And to, officially be a part of this amazing cast and crew that felt like family. True Blood had been, such an HBO classic from the start, and to get to join that was truly a dream come true. And I always tell everybody, the cast and crew were incredible. It felt like family, and it was such a wonderful time in my life, and it's fun to get to remember it again.
Hi, ladies. It's Craig Chester. And one of the things that I love about the show is the freedom that HBO gave us, when we got to write. And I wrote this episode in season 7. Pam and Eric go to Dallas, Texas to go to this Ted Cruz fundraiser to infiltrate this Ted Cruz fundraiser looking for Sarah Newland. I wrote the scene where Pam and Eric are getting ready to go to the event, and they're dressed in incognito, it's they go undercover, it's very Charlie's Angels, to this Republican fundraiser, and Pam gets dressed up in this sequin gown, and Eric's in this 10-gallon hat, he looks like a cowboy, and Pam's in this sort of Highland Park, very rich lady sequin dress, and she turns to Eric and she goes oh my God, I'm a Republican. And because of Kristen Bauer's brilliant delivery, that line became a hashtag on Twitter the next day, or when it was Twitter, and it became a meme, or then a GIF or a GIF. I'm not sure how you say it because I'm old, but it was really exciting. And I'm a Republican became a thing. It trended. And so, when you're a writer, you don't get a lot of accolades. It's not it's like being an actor. So, but to have your line, your dialogue become a hashtag is really kind of as good as it gets. I'm a Republican became a thing. And the next day, after it aired, or maybe the next, I don't know when, maybe a day after that, but the Washington Post called me. I literally waking up hello, it's the Washington Post. And this reporter wanted me to get a comment from me about how Ted Cruz had accused me of being a misogynist. And I was what? And then I found out that it was a thing he was talking about the show. And that was really exciting. And then Sarah Palin got involved because I wanted her to be in the episode. She's he talked to me too. So I wanted her to play herself in the episode, but she turned us down. And she was this liberal media. When I think about that time, someone said to me, you pissed off Ted Cruz and Sarah Palin, Greg, you can officially retire now. So, that whole thing was better than winning an Emmy, better than winning an Oscar, maybe not, but better than winning, it just was so great, exciting. And that was just that's when I think about that show, is the freedom that HBO gave me to write that. And Kristen Bauer's genius delivery of that line.
Hi, I'm Dale Rowell, and I played Maxine Fortenberry, Hoyt's mom. Maxine was great fun to play, as she was so outrageous in so many ways. She was nasty and mean and very certain of herself, very critical and so judgmental. I always loved working with Deborah Ann Woll, who played Vampire Jessica, my son Hoyt's girlfriend. Our characters hated each other. In one scene, she knocked me down, jumped on top of me, and then she bit me. I also loved the scenes where I was possessed and wore those black contact lenses. They weren't very fun to wear, but they really looked creepy. True Blood was so well written and so well produced, just the best, craziest show to work on.
Hey there, it's Carolyn Hennessy, also known as Rosalind Harris, member of the Vampire Authority from season 5. A favorite moment from my time on the set, aside from my head blowing up? Well, I think it has to be that moment that I walked in, probably around the 6th episode that I had done for season 5, and Alexander Skarsgård. First of all, Stephen Moyer was a dream start to finish. My first day there, he grabbed my hand and said, "Come on, let's go see some of the sets." And I thought, well, who doesn't want to be in my shoes right now? But it was probably the 6th episode, roughly, middle of the season, when I walked into the Vampire Authority conference room, and Alexander Skarsgård just comes up to me. He had been fairly cool for most of the previous episodes, because let's face it, he was at that time becoming the most handsome, popular, well-known, well-sought-after man on the planet. So he wasn't sure who was sticking around and does he invest himself and so on and so forth. I got it. I absolutely got it. But he ran up to me this particular day, threw his arms around me and said, "Carolyn." And that's when I really thought, oh, all that effort of acting school, all the no's, all the rejection, all the lean times were all worth it, because Alexander Skarsgård is giving me a hug and placing me basically in a position where truly everyone, male and female, wants to be right now. So that was one of my favorite memories. Also making him laugh hysterically during one particular improv moment during a scene. That was fun. So that's my that's my favorite memory. Also the fact that craft service was amazing. Let's do it again, shall we?
Hi, I'm Gianna Sobel. I was Alan Ball's assistant and also an associate producer on the show. So I was in charge of Alan's day-to-day, and I also ran all of the ancillary projects, you know, the behind-the-scenes production blog, Steve Newland's Field Guide to Vampires, our True Blood cookbook, the DVD extras. But the weirdest one was when we launched a line of True Blood beauty products on the Home Shopping Network. And they sent me to Clearwater, Florida to go on air and sell it. The line was called Forsaken, and we had perfume, scented nail polish, lipstick, shimmering body veil, body cream, candles, and diffusers. And so I'm in Florida at this TV studio that's totally different from our studios back in West Hollywood. I don't know anyone there, but I'm live on air, and Kristen Bauer calls in to help us sell some of these products, and I was so happy to hear a familiar voice, and never had the voice of Pam given me so much comfort as it did that day. And my personal favorite, Jessica's blog. I worked closely with Deborah Ann Wool to develop the posts, some written, some video. But my favorite memory of that was when we had Ginger as a guest in one of Jessica's videos, and Tara Buck is an amazing actress, and she's so funny. And when we got Deb and Tara together playing the scene, I just couldn't stop laughing. And I actually had to leave the stage while we finished the scene because I kept ruining takes because I was laughing so loud. But in the end, it's one of my favorite posts and one of my favorite memories of the show.
Hello, my name's Howie Deutsch, and I'm sharing one of my favorite memories from True Blood, which was the episode in Rutger Hauer was guest starring in. I was very excited to work with him. He was a terrific actor. I'd seen him in a lot of great things. And we had a rehearsal. I said, I want to rehearse first because I'm excited to meet him. And so were the HBO executives, the higher-up HBO executives. So they all wanted to be there, and they were. And we started to rehearse the scene. And as we were rehearsing, Rutger Hauer got down on the ground, and he started to take his pants off. And he started to begin like he was going to masturbate. And I yelled, cut, because the HBO executives all looked very concerned, and so was I. And we had a chat. I said, what are you doing? And he was like, well, I think my character would do this. I said, why? Why would he masturbate? He said, he's that kind of guy. I said, I don't know, you know. I don't really think that's going to fly, at least not with me and the guys in the background who run this HBO. Well, I don't care about that. I think that's what he do. So we talked more, and we compromised on let's not take our pants off, but he can begin to show that he might be interested in something like that, and then we'll cut. Yeah, that really happened. And then we worked together on the episode for, I don't know, about 2 weeks. And we got along great, and he was terrific in the episode. But I'll never forget that rehearsal because it kind of shocked all of us. And now years later, I can relive it, and I'm still shocked.
I'm Patricia Bethune, and I played Jane Boathouse. I auditioned for the role, and there wasn't a lot there. It was just a couple lines in the second episode. But it was possibly recurring, so I did my research, quickly read the first book of Charlene Harris, and then did a little Google search of the other books just to see who Jane was, when she showed up, how she showed up. And I decided that the fact that she's kind of stuck in this town and it's where she'll be, but she still gets out and tries to pull it together. And there has to be a little bit of hope in her, or she'd stay home and drink. Anyway, I made it fun, and who knew that it was going to turn into one of the best jobs of my career. Season 2, of course, was one of my favorites when the Maynard, lovely Mishka, came in and took over our town. Jane lost her pants, then cut off her finger, ended up in an orgy, and when she finally found her finger, Jason, the wonderful Ryan, who was so creative, he always comes up with the best ideas, and he was protective of Jane as Jason. So he thought, oh, I know, she's upset. I can carry her over to the car to get her back to town to reattach her finger. So we tried it once, and he, of course, is stronger than can be and was easily carried me across. But I said, are you sure you want to do this? Because you're going to have to carry me 30 more times before the night is over. And he would have, I think, but it was best. We kind of hobbled and he held me up, and that was just loads of fun. And the best surprising thing that came from working on this amazing show and working with just such wonderful people in the cast, the crew, the writers, directors, Alan, Greg, everybody, is the happiness I feel when I run into them or when I see them working on a new show or having a success in their personal life. There was a time that was special that we shared together, and the best of that time remains with us, hopefully forever.
Hi there, this is Rob Kaczynski, and I played Warlow on True Blood. My favorite moments were, it's funny when I've had to do a lot of sex scenes over the years on various different shows and movies, and I take my job as the man in those scenes quite seriously, to create an environment that feels safe, to make sure that I'm constantly checking in with my scene partner, to make sure that she feels that she's in control of that scene, that she's not being asked to do anything that she hadn't previously agreed to. I feel very responsible for my scene partner. And then I had to do a romantic scene with Ryan Quantum. And all the care that I usually give to somebody else, I got from Ryan, who was just taking care of me and looking after me and making sure I was okay and I tell you, it makes you all gooey. I suddenly was like, oh, I get it, Ryan. And he looked after me really well in our little romantic scene. All right, any specific thank yous I'd like to make? I guess my thank yous would be the obvious ones. Anna and Stephen. They made my life very easy. Stephen was one of my favorite directors I've ever worked with. I think he's extraordinarily talented in that world. And Anna made my everyday a joy on what was quite a hard shoot for both of us. And she was just fantastic. And she was probably the best number one I ever got to work with. And, on those set days where I would come in and everybody knew each other and I was this new stranger coming in, and I would always have Kristin and I would have Alex taking me for lunch every now and then and just making me feel like I'm part of the team. And I would have, Deb to sit there and, it was just, I had friends. I would like to thank everybody. All the people that I was in the trenches with, how's that? Because it was a hell of a cast, and it was a hell of a crew, and it was a hell of a time.
Hi, this is Sarah Walbridge from the costume department. I know you asked for 3 words that we think of when we think of True Blood, but I really just have one, and that's family. True Blood has provided me with some of my most important and cherished relationships in my life. both in work, in my career, and in my life. We were also lucky to actually like each other, which doesn't always happen. It was one of the hardest jobs we've all ever done, but we kept coming back for more. We've had True Blood weddings, we've had True Blood babies, we've had, sadly, True Blood funerals, but it all was so important to us. And we love each other, cast, crew, everybody. We're all, a lot of us at least, are still in touch. And we just had so much fun making this wacky show. Audrey, costume designer Audrey, and I are still really close friends, and we work together a lot. Speaking from a crew member's angle, there's not that many shows like this one where everyone loves each other, we're happy to be at work, and we can look back on the experience so fondly and wish we'd all do it together again someday. I think that's our goal. At that time, I don't think we knew what a wonderful experience it was going to be, but here we are 15-ish years later, more than 15 years later, and I think now we all really understand how lucky we were to be on that project together. So that's my take. It's not about vampires, it's about family.
My name is Sarah Basta, and I was the women's on-set costumer. I took care of all the ladies and their continuity on set. To me, True Blood is the beginning of falling in love with the film industry. It was only my second job after getting in the union, and it was my education. We were all baptized by fire, thrown right in there with long nights and extreme situations. And I still, to this day, have not found a show or job that I loved as much or loved the people. I still find that all of my best friends, the Coven, are the costumers from that show. I ended up marrying someone, Drew Gagnier, from the costume department, and I got married in Anna and Steven's backyard. True Blood to me is personal, it's family. It meant everything to me. Some of my favorite memories definitely happened in the middle of the night. I specifically can remember one with Deborah when she was in a one-off bloody costume, and we told them that they needed to be careful with her back turned to the water and a giant wave coming and hitting her right on camera. I have so many memories of Kristin and crazy shoes and strapping her into a corset that she could barely breathe in. And in the middle of the night, all of us sitting in our chairs together giggling as we froze. I miss everybody so much.
Hello, my name is Theo Alexander, and I was Talbot on season 3 on True Blood. True Blood was one of the greatest experiences of my life because I was working with outstanding people, an outstanding cast, an outstanding crew, and an outstanding creator. Stemming from Alan Ball downwards, everybody was very kind, very creative, very funny, and very inclusive. Being Greek, being from another country, I never felt as a stranger or, that I don't belong. They really gave me, the whole set was a big hug for me. So I'm going to tell you a story that I love. We had a 16-hour filming day, and Alan Ball was directing. Alan Ball wrote the episode. So my turn came, and everybody was there. Alan Paquin was there, Alexander was there, Dennis, my husband, Billy, everybody. I asked Alan Ball if I can improvise something. So everybody looked at me with a look in their eyes that said two things. First of all, we're here 16 hours and now you want to improvise something? And we don't improvise. Alan wrote the script. We don't usually improvise in True Blood. But Alan, the creator he is, and how generous he is, he said, of course, Theo. So when I heard action, I stormed out the room inside the Great Hall and started cursing everybody in Greek. giving an homage to Greek mothers cursing our fathers and telling them that they lost their best years with them. And as I was going up the stairs, I was cursing my husband in the show, Dennis O'Hare, telling him that he's not gonna go, live through the night, and I'm gonna kill him. Things that I've heard from my mother, and, everyone who has a Greek mother can relate to. So, cut was said, and Alan Ball told me, Theo, come back here. He said, listen, I don't know what you said, I don't know what you did, but every time you go up those stairs from now on, you're gonna curse in Greek. I loved it. So that's one of my best memories I have in my life. Well, where is my character now? My character now is probably in Mykonos. I'm in Athens, he's in Mykonos. And opened up a very luxurious hotel, having sex with everything that has a heartbeat or not. And, who knows, maybe one day we'll all reunite and see another True Blood. I love you all, guys, if you hear me. You gave me some of the best experiences of my life. Take care.
Well, before we wrap this up for good, I think there is one last order of business. Kristin, what 3 words best describe your experience on True Blood?
Oh, man.
Yeah, you have to do it now.
What? Okay. Holy moly.
You asked everyone else. Now I want to know your words.
Gadzooks. What are my 3 words? And that is so funny. Okay, so first, right away, laughter.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I miss laughing like that. I mean, Alex and I would laugh and laugh and laugh, and Steven and I would riff.
Yeah.
We could have taken that shit on the road. For sure. I mean, you only get 3. Okay, love.
Yeah.
And family. I have to say family. I mean, I kind of want 4 words. I wanted Kearney family.
I know.
You know,
think that's a
right?
qualifier. You're allowed to. An adjective is allowed.
Right? I mean, damn
This
it,
is our
it's
podcast. God damn it, yeah. We get a 4th word if we want it.
Well, yeah, I think that's it. Laughter, love, and my Kearney family.
Yeah.
What about you, Deb?
Oh gosh, I thought a lot about it. I wanted to say like educational, but that wasn't quite right because it's too.
Yeah.
I ended up going with expansive, right? I think that True
that's
Blood
good.
expanded me
Yeah.
as an artist, as a person. I feel very, very grateful for that. So expansive.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's so true.
I said heart fortifying. So I
Yeah.
have my
Yeah.
qualifying words as well.
Yeah, okay.
Because yes,
Yeah.
because of the family,
Yeah.
because of the self-confidence that it gave me,
Yeah.
because of the relationships that I made that I will never forget. Some of my best friends, Gianna, yourself, Janina, Michael
Yeah.
McMillan. I mean, these are people who I will know and love for the rest of my life.
I know.
And also, so heart fortifying, but also heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I think I take my storylines very personally sometimes. And so there are moments that I really felt heartbreak just in terms of the storyline.
Yeah.
And then saying goodbye at the end.
It's brutal.
Genuinely to say goodbye to these characters.
Yeah.
And to say goodbye to these people.
Yeah. It was hard.
And to know that you'll really never have it that good again.
Right.
Is heartbreaking. So as much as I was maybe ready to move on and move to a new chapter of my career, I was heartbroken as well.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us felt like we could have done that show forever.
Yeah. 100%, Deb. That was hard.
It was really hard.
Well, the finale episode of True Blood was beautifully titled, Thank You.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really the only way to end this story.
Yeah, I think really that's our fourth word.
Yeah. Yeah. Our fifth, can we? Our
fifth word.
Our fourth and our fifth word. Like, right? Just the deep, deep appreciation and gratitude for that lightning that just struck at that time in that place.
Yeah.
And so many elements had to come together to make it what it was.
Yeah.
That were out of our control. And just, at the same time as it was created by brilliant people and headed by brilliant people, and the incredible Anna is number one, and all the effort and work, there was also the fact that all those people came together in that place at that time.
Yes.
That time of HBO is magic.
It was. It had a very classic, television experience. And
yeah,
so many of the things that we did on that show have disappeared.
Yes.
They're just not done anymore. Table reads, supervising writers,
Right.
things like that. And especially this last season, we tease and we make jokes and we get a little snarky and all of that. But for every up and down of this show and this series and all the teasing that we might do, the only prevailing feeling is gratitude.
Yeah.
Just for the lessons that we learned, for the relationships that we forged. And honestly, to then revisit it again with this podcast has been just a unique privilege.
It's been so much more than I thought it would be.
Yeah, me too. When Janina came with this idea, I think I just went, okay, I guess so. And it's just every step of the way, I've been surprised by how meaningful it has been. So with that, we have several people that we need to thank.
Yeah. HBO. HBO that said yes to doing this and continued to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And those execs just kept this little podcast going. And our fabulous sound editor, Christopher Wall, who's just been absolutely amazing.
Sound good every time and sound smart.
Yes. And our producer, Gabby Galan. How do you say your last name, Gabby?
Did we get it right?
Jesus, I've never said your last name. She's giving me a thumbs up. She's just Gabby.
Who's just become our friend and our confidant. So many of these recordings that we do start with like 30 minutes of Kristin and I getting stuff off our chest. So thank you for being there for us through all of it.
Oh my gosh, she's unbelievable. And then Janina, who this wouldn't have even happened. It was her idea, her baby. She sold it. She hired Gabby. We roped Christopher in. This is where nepotism worked the other way, because this is Deb's brother, and he's very overqualified.
He's way overqualified for our podcast.
So this worked not in his favor, but we're so glad that he's here. And then I just have to thank you, Deb. I mean, you... First of all, I learned so much about this show I did from you.
My research.
Yes, because you would write and write and write and deliver these fabulous outlines and scripts for us. And I just would sit back and be like, I never knew that.
Well, and I think conversely to that, Kristin, I don't have such a good memory. My actual memories of the moments and things that happened on set are limited. And so to have you to jog that and to remind me of the laughter and the tears and the long, cold nights, I think, which is why we are the perfect Mulder and Scully.
We are.
To bring this show to life. I think Janina was right.
Janina cast us well.
She did.
I mean, right from the start, remember, she called me and said, do you want to do this podcast? And I took about 1.7 seconds and went, yeah. And then we called you and you were like, I have some questions. I'm like, oh yeah.
Major questions. And
so you start asking questions. I'm like, that's a really good question. I'd really like to know the answer to that question, actually. So from the very start, we were a really good duo.
Yin and yang for sure here. And last, but certainly not least, a very special thank you to all of our Truebies out there.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, to each and every one of you who turned in every week, or even bite by bite.
Yeah.
Without someone for us to share this with, we'd just be speaking into the void. So we hope that you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed making it. Please subscribe and follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
And as my closing tagline here, my infamous closing tagline, I think today I will add in some of the immortal quotes from the writers of the show. Jesus, tits, and God, America, we appreciate you. Bottom line is, vampires are always in some kind of trouble, and I just prefer to be in it with you. So don't worry, people disappear all the time, but they're never really gone, and the good parts of them stay put. Thanks for coming back, y'all.
Truest Blood is produced by Safe Haven for HBO. Executive producers are Janina Gavankar, Kristen Bauer, and Deborah Ann Wool. Our producer is Gabrielle Gallan, and our audio producer is Christopher Wool. Our theme song was recorded just for this podcast by Jace Everett. Additional music was composed by Timo Chen. And remember, you can watch all of the original episodes of True Blood on Max.